Hi, this is Nahid Denshi, and I was hoping we could talk again about the famous Turkish Tylenol. So, you remember this story. There was a point where there was a worldwide disruption in the supply chain for children's pain relievers, acetaminophen and ibuprofen, and many parents were rightly concerned that they might not be able to get this when their kid needed it. Pharmacies had to compound it, and people in Alberta Health Services had to make this stuff from scratch, if you like, as well. It was an emergency, and it was important for government to act. However, the federal government did, in fact, make a deal with the manufacturers and secure supply to be back on shelves in Canada. But in Alberta, we did something strange that no other province did. We decided to secure our own supply. Who knows how, but the Premier and her staff found a manufacturer in Turkey owned by Dr. Oz's mother, and they signed a deal for some $80 million, maybe $75 million, including $10 million in shipping, to bring some of this stuff to Alberta. We learned this week that the provincial civil servants actually warned the government that this stuff would arrive after the federal supply had arrived, after the regular supply was back on the shelves, and after the crisis had passed. Yet the province went ahead anyway. And we can only imagine that the reason they did that is because they wanted to have credit for when people were able to get this stuff again. And we know the rest of it. Only some 14,000 bottles ever arrived out of the millions that were ordered. The province had said, we're going to sell some of this to other provinces to offset the costs. No other provinces were interested. The dosage was not a normal dosage. People were hesitant to use it in hospital settings because they were worried that it would clog feeding tubes for very ill children. And in the end, every one of these things cost nearly, ready, $6,000 per bottle delivered. This is obviously crazy. And it is a lot of money. The amount of money that was spent on this misadventure, for example, would have funded the low-income transit pass in Calgary for some 15 to 20 years. Now, here's the thing. I have a lot of experience dealing with emergencies. And I know what you don't do in an emergency is panic. And what you don't do is throw money at everyone who comes to you saying they may have a solution to your problem. You ask questions, you make smart decisions, and you move forward as quickly as you can with your partners, all of which this government failed to do. This is a very serious indictment of how this government works, and there are lots of questions that remain unanswered. Who brought this deal to the government? Who were the lobbyists? How much did they get paid? Why in the world did this deal include $10 million in shipping costs? Why did the government think this was a good idea despite getting advice from their own public servants and their regulators that this would not have any impact and in fact would end up costing a lot of money? And who signs off on nearly $100 million of expense like this without clearly asking any questions? The good news is it's possible to be smarter and better. It's possible to work with our partners in other provinces and with the federal government to solve these kinds of problems, and with Health Canada. It's possible to listen to the experts in our public service to do a better job, and it is possible to solve a problem in a crisis. That's stuff that this government doesn't do, but we can do. And if the NDP is able to take power in 2027, we will do, because we will build a better system and a more competent government for Alberta, for all of us.